Hey there, boys and girls of the YouTube world. Today, Duff Dog and I are going to see if we can't get my 1964 Chevrolet Impala Station Wagon back on the road. That's right, this is a 1964 Chevrolet full-size station wagon in the Impala trim package. I've had this car for 23 years now. This is like the first old car I ever had, and it's the longest running car that I've had in my fleet. And I'll give you a little bit more backstory in a bit here, but I rebuilt the 327 in high school. It's got like 15,000 miles on it. I don't drive it a ton. Been off the road for a couple of years because the rear main seal leaks so bad and because I got too much other stuff to drive. So we got to pull the 327 out, seal it all up, and we'll put a front seal on the Power Glide 2-speed automatic transmission. And I think it needs some mufflers. Maybe put some wheels and tires on it and see what else we can find along the way. First thing we got to do is get it out of here. And the 39 Ford two-door sedan is in the way, and a 40 Ford pickup, coupe, something. It's 35 to 41 pickup, 35 to 40 Ford car chassis in the way. I get that out of the way. We're down here in my storage unit. We got the Model A, and we got a Model T coupe hot rod thing, and a Model A Phaeton thing, and a 34.5 International chopped pickup thing. And there's the old 71 Chevy short box with the big block. That didn't get driven last year. This didn't get driven for 2 years. That made it out a couple times, not very far. Same with this. And these three aren't runners. And this is my dad's. I'm just storing it for him. You sick of hearing me talk? I'm sick of talking. So I'm gonna go ahead and see if we can't shuffle some stuff out of the way. Hopefully I can just put a floor jack underneath this frame and get it out of the way. And maybe the same thing on the 39. I did not bring a 6-volt battery with me. So let's see what we can do. Duff, you're not much help. Oh, and there's the Ford cab over. You guys haven't seen that in a long time. And we haven't done anything with it in a long time. I did drive it around the yard a couple times this summer to mow around it. Still runs great. So, still got it. Somebody could probably own that thing if they really wanted to. It's for sale. It's not on sale. All right, let's move some stuff. Suppose any of these floor jacks work, Duff? If you were a floor jack, which one would you do that worked? Well, now we just gotta figure out what this is. Oh, a whole bunch of new old stock Ford parts. Yeah, I forgot I got all that. Bought out the local Ford garage, and we got a bunch of parts that we gotta put away yet. And then we gotta hope this thing fires back up. Oh, Duff, I even left the hood open last time, so you don't have to open it. Hey, it's got a battery in it even. What are the odds that's any good? Oh, it arced. You're saying there's a chance.
So you're telling me there's a chance.
Let's hook that up. So this thing was parked for many years when I got it. 327 was stuck. I got it loose, got it running. Went through about a quart of oil every 10, 20 miles. It was bad. Maybe that's being a little bit aggressive, but it was definitely a quart to 100. So I found another, I believe it's a 63 engine, or maybe it's a 64. We'll check out the code later. It's got some 882 kind of smog era heads on it with the accessory holes on the front. Went through everything, hyper eutectic pistons. It's got a comp cam in it, just a little baby RV cam. Edelbrock intake, HEI ignition, Edelbrock carb. Stuff that I'm not super proud of, but it works. First engine, probably pretty much the only engine that I've ever rebuilt by myself. So we're gonna prime the carburetor, and this thing's just gonna light right off. It's also on airbags, and they're deflated. And we're not cool like pudding and have a compressor on board, so we're just gonna drive it out with the bags deflated. We'll pump it up when we get to the shop, or get it outside, or we'll see what happens. Looks like 2018 I had her back to the 50s in Minneapolis. I think that's the only time I've had it there. I've driven this car quite a bit, but I haven't really had it to any shows because it's just kind of a beater to me. Glad I hung on to it all these years though. Let's see if she lights off. It's gonna be tight getting out of here. I wish Duff was here to guide me. Oh yeah, we gotta prime that carburetor. Where we prime this thing. Interior's pretty decent. Bottoms of the door panels were flaky, so I cut them off. Carpet's meh. Dashpad's got some cracks. Seat's got some cracks. Back seat's good though. You ain't seen much action, if you know what I mean. Oh, hey, look, a new oil filter, ready to go. Oh, it's a tilt steering wheel car, I forgot to tell you. And like an idiot high school kid, I hacked up the dash to put a CD player in it. That's my biggest regret. All right, slingshot, engage. Ugh. Sad day. Duff, you want to go wiggle the battery connections? Yeah, no thumbs, I got it. Try number 2, here we go. Oh, lights right off. That's the beauty of HEI. Electronic ignition in general, no points to F with. Come on now. It's got a 750 with a manual choke. I don't know why I ended up with that on there, because I ran it for years with a 600 Edelbrock and electric choke, and that worked really good. I don't know if I stole it for something else or what. But that's something we got to do too, is put a 600 back on it. An electric choke. It's kind of cold-blooded, and it uses too much gas. Doors shut in this thing like a champ. I just hate it when people ride with you and slam the door. Another pet peeve of mine. As if I didn't have enough already. It is a tropical 45 degrees here today. Like, it's unseasonably warm for March. Middle of March. Not unseasonably warm, it's warm. It's well deserved. We earned it this year. Full 2 1/4 aluminized exhaust done by Webster Auto Care, Webster, South Dakota. Again, that's 20 years old. Tim Simons down there did it. Does an amazing job with these cars and just exhaust in general. Oh, I do run .5 brake fluid in this thing. Only thing in my fleet. Somebody told me to do it at the time, and I'm not sold on it. The thing that I don't like about it is you can't mix 3 and 5, so I got this 1 bottle of 5 around just for this thing. It's kind of dumb. I wouldn't do it if I had to do it again. I guess number 5 doesn't take on moisture like 3 does. Brakes seem good. I think I did put a new booster on it. I put all new brakes on it back in the day. It's only got 74,000. I think I bought it with 57,000. I'm the 3rd owner of this thing. It was sold new in Duluth, Minnesota. And then it sat in town here. Squeak Keith Stalter had it. Rabbit ass is what one of the local comedians called it. And he had it sitting in his yard. He had a ton of cats, and he'd keep the cat food in here. So mice never got in here because he had so many cats. Your worthless information. But yeah, I did all the brakes. Tranny was gone through. Engine was gone through. Put a new radiator at one point. I think I did ball joints. I had Air Ride Technologies bags all the way around. I blew one of the rear bags, so I put it back to stock. I've never had a compressor in it, so that's something I'd like to do, is get a compressor in a tank and pump that all up so you can. Otherwise, I just fill it up with a Schrader valve, set it. Seems to work. Drove it for years without front shocks. Finally, I put some front shocks on it probably 6-8 years ago. Well, longer than that. That was probably 12 years ago, 13 years ago. Time flies. But anyway, yeah, I got about 17,000 miles in this car since I redid it. Since I've owned it in 23 years. So not even 1,000 miles a year. It's got thrust turbo mufflers. I like the way they sound, but these ones are getting rattly, like the weld broke on the inside. That's annoying at like the right resonance. All right, I think we just barely missed the rear tire on that 40 frame. We should clear. And we're not gonna. Power steering works good. stuck in the mud. Yeah, we better back out. I'm not trying to turn around in the yard. So it's got aluminum 5-spokes on it all the way around. They're 14s. But I got a sweet deal on them back in the day, and then I got a sweet deal on some Coker white walls, radials, 14s. So I put them all together. My dad again called me an idiot. He's like, you can't combine two different eras, the 50s and the 60s, and put them together. And I was like, freaking watch me. So yeah, I got like a $300 set of 5-spokes and white walls, and I've never cleaned the white walls, and I've never cleaned the 5-spokes. Matches the car just perfect. Originally when I bought it, it had full hubcaps and steel wheels, 14-inch steel wheels. No idea where those went. Right off the bat, I bought some rallies off of I believe it was a 68 or 9 Chevelle. I think it was a 68. And put those on here. White letters out. Yeah, I think they had Road Max tires on them. And then I got crazy and painted them red, because red wheels matter. And I probably ran it that way for, oh man, all through high school and college. And then when I got done with college, that's when I put these on it. So almost 10 years I ran it like that with the rallies. But it's been another 10 years that I've had these. And these tires are probably old when I got them. We should look at the date code. So I feel like, A, it's time to put some better tires. I'd sure hate to wreck a quarter panel by peeling skin off one of these tires. And B, I'm kind of ready for a change. I'm thinking like some black steelies, maybe some chrome reverses with a little thin white line. Or maybe some black steelies with some dog dishes. Or just no center cap. New lug nuts. New dust caps. Paint the brake drums and the axle ends. I don't know, what would you put for wheels on this thing? What would you put, Duff? Duff don't really care about wheels. He only pees on people he doesn't like wheels. Or what are the wheels that everybody wants on these lowriders? Not like Dayton's. Oh man, that's the thing. The Hispanic crowd loves this car. Every time I'm at a gas pump and somebody Hispanic around, generally males, they come on like, hey home, how much you want for your car? I want to buy your car. And I'm like, no, I've had it too long, it's not for sale. What are the wheels? It's Astro Supremes. That's what I want. Those are real money. We don't spend real money. The 327 still got her. No gauges, just all dummy lights. I did put a heater core in it when I was in high school. Put kick panels with speakers in them. I'm gonna put some speakers in the doors. Used to have a pair of 12-inch subs in the back. Yeah, it was real cool. Super cool. Super decent white headliner. It did tear in the back there, and I patched it together. That was like my attempt at sewing. Let's look this thing over, Duff. You've never ridden in this thing, I bet. Yeah. Apparently the brake switch needs adjusting. A buddy's cousin took it joyriding, tore up that valance, so I got a different one of those. I was pretty pissed on that deal. Threw the power steering belt. He did some damage to this car. This is one of the angriest times I've ever been. There's a soft spot on the floor. It's not even bad. Other than that, a little rust in the dog leg here. I think there's, you know, that's surface rust. A little bit of rust at the bottom of the tailgate. I wanted Slimer for the license plates, you know, thinking that was really cool with Ghostbusters, but that was taken. So 64 was the best I could come up with. And this fender dog leg's got some pretty good rot in it, but otherwise it ain't bad. Had a luggage rack on it, just changed the look up. I took it off. I still have it. Oh, nice to see somebody flick their cigarette ashes on the roof. People are cool. But yeah, super straight. I think there's like one ding above the bumper up there, and there's a ding here. The hood was open when it was parked and a tree fell on it, and so the hinges were effed, so I found some hinges. Oh yeah, and then there's a ding there. Other than that, super straight. Where's that ding at? Right above the bumper, right there. Nothing crazy. Sold at Muscatel's the second time when this guy bought it. Oh, we need to round up a spare tire and put in it. Still got the original floor mats. You can see just from swapping the engines and working under the hood, just wore all that paint off. Fortunately, whatever was parked above it at one point leaked on it, so hopefully that cleans up. I think it's original glass too. I never put glass in it. I almost guarantee it's original. It's got the tint on the top here, I think. Got the original build card for this thing. It was like $3,400. Seatbelt delete was like a $9 credit. Yeah, it's not a 9-passenger, it's a 6-passenger Impala, 350 horse, or no, 250 horse, 327 power glide, power steering, power brakes, tilt. What did they call the tilt? Comfort tilt steering, I think it is. And then it has like the $7 fruit jar underneath the dash, the glass. Can't think of the name for that. Anyway, OptiClean, the OptiClean option. Yeah, a wealth of useless knowledge. Duff, you are a swamp donkey. All right, I was gonna go inside and grab something, a battery. Grab the battery, so we don't want to leave that here because we're short of batteries all the time, especially when I leave them in cars. There's the Galaxy, White Lightning, Ray Jr. with a terribly flat tire that won't seal back up. Spark plug testers, Phaeton. Oh yeah, this has got a big block in it, the International. Drop axle, 35 Ford wires, Dana 44 out of a Scout in the back. Turbo 400 in it, or 375, or 475, whatever. The one that doesn't have the slip yoke. Some cool stuff. Probably never gonna get back to that one. I think I chopped it 3 3/4 inches. Oh, Puddin', he needs that thing. Puddin' really wants a C series. So I think this is a C1 they call it, because it's a half ton. I got a fleet of them. Probably never gonna get to them. I built one when I was in college, kind of a bob bed deal, chopped it, small block, 3 deuces, keg on the back for a gas tank. And I started building this one for another guy. He got married, abandoned ship. So I bought it back. And here it sits. I was in the process of chopping it and framing the doors up with steel and the cab up with steel because these things are full of wood and that's why nobody wants them. That's why I can afford them. And they're also 5 inches deeper than a Ford for tall guys like me. So yeah. What's that? Is that Mower Man? Where's he at, Duff? Oh, no, it's a kid on a mower up there. I'm happy spring is here, but the mud is no fun. Let's get this thing in the shop. Oh, there you can hear the thrush muffler on this side. Just maybe we can just put a sheet metal screw in it. Duff's too dirty to ride in here, and it's too nice for him to ride in the car. I mean, not the car, but it's too nice out. He wants to be outside. This thing is on the bump stops because the bags are flat. Ooh, and the exhaust is dragging. That is the lowest point on this car, the exhaust. So it's got a few battle scars. So like I said, this thing's got a terrible rear main seal leak. It's always kind of leaked, but it's pretty bad right now. Let's go check outside. So we're just gonna rip it apart right away. And since Duff doesn't have any thumbs, Chin is here, and he's gonna help me pull the hood off. But that's how much of a spot is there, and I bet the car didn't run in that same spot for maybe 30 seconds. And as the oil gets warmer, it gets thinner, it leaks more the longer the car runs, so it's gotta come out. Like the last 2 times I drove it, it was literally a trail, and we don't want to run this fresh engine out of oil. So
just take the hood off.
Chin took off. He's a good kid, helping me take that hood off. Don't worry, we put a 1x4 up there so that it don't scratch the roof. Man, just in looking at this thing, a lot of stuff's coming back to me. There's the old OptiClean bottle, windshield washer tank. Like I said, I put a new radiator in at one time. I had the original starter rebuilt. There was a starter rebuilder in Watertown, and he used the original casting and the original starter solenoid and gutted it because he's like, man, that thing's dated like November of '63. So it's got the original starter and the original alternator on this thing. It does have a generator light, but it's got an alternator. They did that for a while. I did put a new booster on it. That leaked. Like I said, pretty much all the brakes are new. Well, 20 years old now. I forgot I used a blue distributor cap on this thing, and I didn't know the timing to a small block Chevy, so I had to label my wires back in the day. Yeah, that's right. That fuel hose that I was just bashing a couple weeks ago on that 327, yep, I was that guy at one time too, and that's getting super brittle, so we need to replace that. Like I said, this has a 1407, I believe. Yep, 700 CFM manual choke that's wired open. And then it did have an electric choke. And look at how I just stuffed it in there in the alternator wire and taped it up. So we should probably fix that. I hooked up the distributor just right off the wire with the resistor built into it for the points ignition. So that needs to be rewired. That cap just really bothers me. So when we got the engine out, I might go back to a small cap, probably just run points. A lot of people like Pertronics, but I've heard a lot of bad things about them. They're made offshore, which a lot of points are, but at least if your points go bad, you just swap a new set in, which you can do with the Pertronics. If they go bad, you can swap in either a new Pertronics or keep points in the glove box. But just heard a lot of real bad things about them, and as you know, we're pretty dang familiar with points, so we might just do that. Or maybe just go with an aftermarket small cap style distributor. I don't know what we'll do. But that blue cap, it's got to go. And it's just, I didn't beat in the firewall. Oh, just kidding. I might have smacked it a couple times. I don't think I did. But it's tight. Like that plug wire isn't even hardly on. I mean, it's pretty much not on anymore. So we need to either rewire that or just get rid of it in general. We got to do something with that. That carburetor is the wrong one, and I want to redo this fuel line. There's a couple of these hose clamps that are too long. They just kind of irritate me. These hoses are 20 years old, but they seem like they're okay, and I don't have any new ones. But while Chin and I were admiring all my work here, we did notice the bushings are blown out on the control arms, so probably need to go through the suspension. I did break an engine mount one time, and so the engine lifted up and it hit the fan shroud, and that took out the clutch fan, so I put a new one of those on it at one time. I mean, I've pretty much went through the gauntlet on this car that I've had it. I had to use my buddy's mom's eBay account in high school to get those Edelbrock valve covers. Those things are super hard to come by at the time. They only made the smooth ones that didn't have the holes for the breather. So we had to get those on eBay, and they was like crazy. It was like 125 or 150 bucks, which is a lot of money for a high schooler back then. So that was like my favorite purchase ever. For Christmas one year, I think I was probably 17, my parents got me this Air Ride Technologies airbag kit. Thought it was so cool when I installed that, which I was. Pretty dang cool. But like I said, the bags rubbed through in the back, probably because of improper installation. And I never had a compressor, just had Schrader valves, so I would like to redo that. So what is Ride Tech now? Or Air Ride Tech, if you're watching and you know you want to work with us, put a compressor and new bag system on here, or maybe some tubular control arms, that would be pretty awesome, so we don't have to rebuild those stock ones. But just a lot of little stuff that I've noticed, like the battery cables, they need to be cleaned up, and this one's a little bit tight. I never had a battery hold down. Had an amp in it one time, so this can all get pulled out and go away. That was done by a stereo shop, so they actually did a pretty decent job of that. I suppose they could have hit it a little bit better, but not disappointed there. And then this breather hose, I was just kind of zip tied up. We could do better than that. We could step our game up. Here's the Schrader valves for bumping up the suspension. There's supposed to be a bracket for this spring, but I just hooked it to the temp sender. I remember having a chrome thermostat housing on it, and that thing was always leaking, so that fixed it. I thought about pulling this apart and sealing it and then pressure washing and painting it, but like I said, this engine's only got 15,000 miles in 20 years, and it looks like crap. I never had the hood open on this thing, so we'll maybe wash it and stick it back together, but I don't think we're gonna paint it. We're not into that. This is a driver, not a show car. So enough yapping. I guess we'll probably pull this thing out. Anything else you want to talk about, Duff? No? You ready to get to work? I think the first thing we'll do is we'll jack it up in the air, pull the bell housing bolts out, pull the engine mounts out if we can get them from underneath, or we gotta do it from top. Well, we can probably get them from underneath easier. Do the exhausts, everything underneath, and that way when we come up top and start taking everything out from up top, we can just pluck her right out of there. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Yeah. So you guys are probably gonna just watch me work real fast for a bit here. Okay. You want to jack this thing up? I think that's the other thing with airbags. You're supposed to have them deflated when you pick them up in the air, otherwise it stretches them or something like that. But since these are completely deflated, we don't have to worry about that. Oh, the other thing with painting it, why I don't want to do that is because then you get to cleaning up the valve covers and painting those and polishing them and cleaning up the intake, and then I might as well blast the manifolds and recast blast those. Those things still look pretty good. I cast blasted those things, like I said, probably in 2002, so almost 20 years ago. Those things look pretty good. I cast blasted the master cylinder, looks pretty good. The cast blast is pretty good stuff. I must have painted this. This is the stock fan shroud. Everybody's like, oh, it looks like a 55-gallon drum, but no, that's the stock GM shroud. Cool. Let's get this thing picked up and plucked out. go underneath this car for the first time in a couple years and see what we can find. So there you can see where the exhaust drops down and comes out around the frame. Oh, I did screw some sheet metal to the muffler to try to patch it from rattling. I think that was the morning we were going to back to the 50s or the night before. Yeah, you can see where there's a little exhaust leak. Anyway, we got to do something about that. I think I got some new mufflers. Hopefully they bolt right on. You can see just how oily this thing is. There's a couple pretty good spots on the floor already. But yeah, the rear main in this thing just pours out. My nice rebuilt starter is all oily. Fun fact, when I installed this kit originally, you had to like weld on mounts for the shocks, but 10 years later they came out this bolt-on kit, so huge improvement for the shocks. That's why I didn't drive it. And that's why I didn't have shocks on it for years, because I didn't know how to weld back then. Or I didn't trust myself, which is probably a good thing. Bent up my own tranny cooler lines. You can see those are pretty terrible. Also, I apparently use baling wire to hold the shifter, so maybe we should find the right spring for all that stuff. All right, just as oily as I thought it would be. Let's pull some exhaust, pull the flex plate bolts. Oh man, we haven't split an automatic transmission on this channel yet, have we? Everything's been manuals, the engines we've been pulling. Well,
See you later.
let's do it to it. Oh, that was a struggle. I really need to get a lift, guys and gals. But exhaust is done, torque converter is done, inspection cover. We got 4 of the bell housing bolts. We gotta get the top 2 up here, but I think we gotta get them from the top. And the engine mounts are done. Well, we gotta get the bolt out on that side, but I think we're pretty much wrapped up under there. Hopefully, because pretty much got the whole toolbox underneath there, it seems like. Yeah. Nothing easy these days. Okay, let's set her on the ground and do some stuff up top. See how far we can get tonight. So we're getting pretty close. It's going to get the distributor out here, and I was just going to show you guys how far I've come in wiring. 9 o'clock whistle. Well, time to go to bed. So this is the oil pressure sending wire, and I apparently thought I needed to tap into that. Thought maybe it had power, I suppose. So for the choke, you can see I stripped that back and then just slid some tape over it. And then the 2 wires that were going to the coil, I just tied them together and put a butt splice in there and taped it up and put some 10 gauge. And then I must have stripped that to tap into it for the coil wire, or for the choke wire. And then I also just slid some tape over that. And then instead of the correct distributor clip, I just use a regular old spade clip. So yeah, I'll admit my electrical has come a long ways. I was a hack at one point. I mean, I'm still a hack, but I'm getting better at electrical, because yeah. Same deal with the alternator wire that was running to the choke. I'm guessing that's just twisted in there and taped off. As a matter of fact, I know it is. I can't feel anything. God forbid we heat shrink or solder or even use a butt connector. And then this distributor, I noticed the rotor, I don't know if I didn't get those tight or they came loose, but she's kind of flopping around in there. But we're getting close. I think I'm just gonna lay the power steering pump off to the side. We'll pull the radiator out in the shroud, pull the fan off. And then I gotta get those top 2 bolts on the bell housing and low radiator hose. But we're pretty much ready to pull this son of a biscuit out of here. So I think we're just gonna pull that distributor out. We'll figure out where we gotta drop it in later. And then I can get more access back there. And like I said, I really don't want to deal with that HEI. I'm over it. Also, I cheaped out when I got the manifold. Well, I didn't cheap out. I got the one with the EGR. I freaking hate when they come with the EGR. Stinking California. So you gotta get that silly block off plate. Can we pull it out of there? Oh. Barely. Oh yeah, I did an intake gasket on this one time, because I probably put China wall gaskets in it back in the day. Come on now. That's tight. Tight like a tiger.
Yes, you are tight like a tiger.
Oh man, that's dog tire and hot Duff. Came out pretty freaking smooth. You can see just how hard I ran this thing. So we're in podunk nowhere. And what do you think the lowest spot other than that exhaust is? That's right, the cross member. You'd see all the gravel in there, and it would kick it up so high that it was all over the bell housing. All the way up the top. This is where the road draft tube would have went. You don't need a road draft tube when you've got PCV. Way better, Greta. We're saving the environment. But yeah, there's gravel way up on top of the engine. So, believe it or not, we're gonna pressure wash this thing. It's that same 378, 28, 70, that same 62 to 65 block. And what is the suffix? Just an S? Yeah, I guess we'll have to look that up. Either way, it's not the numbers matching one for this car, and like a dummy I sold that one. Oh well. Looks like I only put one engine mount in it when I did that one over here, and that one's kind of oily, so we should probably replace it, but we won't. And yeah, plug wires should replace those. They're all oily from valve covers leaking. I did convert it to a spin-on style oil filter. Canisters ain't all bad, but yeah, this thing is just a grimy dirt ball. So we will pressure wash it. Got to put it in the engine stand in order to turn it over and put the rear main and oil pan and all that good stuff in it. But the stinking slant 6 is still sitting in there. Wally's supposed to be bringing us a crankshaft to slide in that thing so that we can have a spare, but that hasn't shown up yet. So I'm gonna need some help getting that out of there. Or I guess, well, we'll take it out of there with the skid steer, but Duff's not good at running that or hooking up a chain. So I guess we'll have to set this on the ground and then use the cherry picker and take that out. I don't know. Life's a mess. This does have the smaller 153 tooth flex plate on it though, I just noticed. And our new starter that's now about 15 years old, it's getting pretty grimy as well. It's got the smaller ram horn manifolds on it. The what are they, 2-inch or 2 1/4? And the high performance, like that 327 that we had out of that 62, those are 2 1/2s. Corvettes use those too. But all right, call her a night. You see that torque converter, she ain't been hot. You can see it's nice blue paint on it. That tranny is a grease ball, but I don't think we're gonna pull it out to pressure wash it. We will probably pull the torque converter out, stick a front seal in it, just because there's no better time like the present for something like that. I'm gonna get cleaned up, call it a night. See you guys tomorrow too. in several seconds. Good day.
I said good day.
What do we got here helping us today? Huh? You like these sweet potato and liver chews? Oh, heck yeah, I don't know who sent us those. They don't look very good. I ain't gonna try one. We got Farmstead over here working on Hondas. So I'm gonna make him hook up a chain because he's no help. So we gotta move this, all these 300 horse 327 parts. Drag this outside, hook a chain up, get her out of the stand, and then put that adapter onto that engine. It's a gorgeous day to pressure wash. There's never a bad day to pressure wash. There's never a good day to do it without your shirt on. Anybody who pressure washes without their shirt on needs to have their head checked. All right, let's get this unloaded. Oh, I don't want to screw up that carburetor. Oh look, he's doing the walk of shame. I can't figure out how to get it started. Jumping is not going well. The look of disappointment. What do you think, Duff? Did you go over there? Try to give him a hand? Oh, we're getting serious now. Got a box. He's got his pajamas with him. What are you doing? Nothing to see here. Can you rev up the exhaust on that pickup? Everybody wants to hear it. How's that going over there? Is it going good?
Oh, it's going great.
Grand. Wonderful.
Good, great, grand, wonderful.
Well, we got that engine off the engine stand without you. Thanks for the help. And we'll keep Duff away from that antifreeze. He'll probably drink it.
Go do pudding things. Get your bibs on.
Is that what you're putting on?
Yep.
Alright, this oil's always been super clean. It's got this chrome dipstick. And every time you go to check the oil, you can barely read it on that stupid chrome dipstick. So, see how this looks. Like I said, probably doesn't even get 1,000 miles per oil change because I change it every year. She's a little black. So maybe I lied. What are you doing over here? Working on La Honda.
La Honda.
He doesn't know how tight a belt's got to be. You gotta get your fish weighing device. What do they call that? You're a fisherman.
Scale.
A fish scale. Looks good.
I know.
Is there any way to tension it?
Yeah, it's underneath here.
So it's not a stretch belt then.
Well,
It's a serpentine belt.
yeah, same thing.
It's not a stretch to fit.
Isn't it? Same thing.
Look at this. Are you an electrician? It's pretty nice.
I know.
It's a hybrid.
It's a hybrid.
Yeah, that's pretty tight.
Okay.
Ship it.
I know. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Look at this. Dukes of Hazzard stuff.
That's right.
Hood pins.
Show them the golf ball aerodynamic hood too. Make sure they get a good glimpse of that.
Get the good side.
Get the good side.
Yeah, and when you buy headlights, don't buy them both. Just get the one you need.
Not when you buy something like this.
That's a nice car. That's an. If you just put a bra on it, and nobody would ever even notice. Oh, except for that dent goes just about to the windshield. Oh yeah. Hood pin kit for the win.
That's right. Poke a hole in the bra for it. Boop.
Yeah, don't be a cheapskate and ratchet strap your hood down or bungee cord it. What was that kit like? $11.94?
Yeah, something like that.
Less than $20.
Yeah.
That was pre-COVID, so it's probably like $38 because inflation isn't a thing.
I think it goes faster now.
Yeah, I mean, put that on before you put your muffler from your Fast and Furious on there. You should put a wing on it. We should make
Some 2x4s.
a wing, but
That's
then
pretty expensive.
but paint them silver, right? We'll have to make them out of pallets, recycled
Right,
pallets.
there we go. 2x4s cost like $400.
Right, double the value.
Yeah.
What's this bar here do?
That's the little bracket that holds the power steering.
You have to take the power steering pump off to put the alternator on. It's pretty awesome.
Through the little hole here where the steering pump
How many
is.
times have you put this alternator on now?
3.
He's good
Nope,
at.
I put 2 on.
The second replace? No. This is the third replacement.
Second. No, third. You're right.
Don't buy the
stuff.
Don't buy the too good a one. Get the
Yeah.
medium grade one.
No, go for the cheap one.
What's this? A Delco? Delphi?
Is that red? No, isn't it?
Remy? Remy. Oh yeah, it's gonna be good. It's an Alto Rendimiento Alternador. I like the Spanish version better.
Fighting chicken.
The what?
Fighting chicken.
The fighting chicken.
It's El Diablo. That's in Spanish for fighting chicken.
And El Diablo.
What's Diablo mean?
It's like Spanish for like a fighting chicken.
That's awesome.
It's in the same movie
As
oh crap, why am I forgetting what you say all the time? Not fire in a hole.
Slingshot engage. Look at how shiny this thing is. It actually cleans up okay. The oil pan never held paint very well, but nobody ever sees that. I'll have to see what so Flint, and I believe, I don't know what it is. 3rd day of the 4th month, maybe. And I think S is probably the suffix, probably just another 250 horse. So technically, I suppose it would be numbers matching still, other than these heads, because they got the accessory holes. Like I said, they're 882s. It's got the old Champion 4018 truck plugs. These were the hot ticket back in the day. We ran a lot of these in the HEI setups. I think they got 15,000 miles on them. I know they got 15,000 miles on them. We'll pull those out and we'll probably put a points style plug in there, because I think that's what we're going to put in it. Yeah, intake cleaned up pretty good. These valve covers, they need a polishing, but we ain't polishing nothing. If you want to know how to paint a block, go check out Uncle Tony's garage. Look at this. I didn't even trim off the gasket back in the day. It had exhaust gaskets on it. Oh, yeah, just a hack that I was back then. Okay, oil's drained. I think we can flip her back over, start putting some seals in it. Yeah, what a freaking gorgeous day. Duff's over visiting the neighbors. They just told me they were happy to see him. Hadn't seen him in a couple months because he let him run away. Why are you putting the hubcap on when the wheel's not even bolted on?
Because that's what holds the hubcap on too.
Oh, Honda things. You should just run it. Black wheels matter.
Hey, I've done this before a few times.
He knows what he's doing. Living large. Honda. Yeah, you don't want to be driving your F-250 with your twice pipes 100 miles round trip every day when gas is $5. Make sure you tune up your Honda. You'll have your $500 car paid for in no time. But look at this. That's probably why it breaks down. And the old Mortske decal on there. Get yours by sending us an email. You get the big ones, 4 of them for 10 bucks, and we usually throw in a couple of these. And we got a new one coming out, but I can't tell you about it. And look into shirts too. And do we have sunglasses? Probably not. Caps, everything you need. We got all the apparel. And join Duff approved down below so we can support our sandwich and treat addiction. Treat addiction. We need to come up with a different terminology for that. It sounds like we're trying to treat addiction. We're definitely not trying to treat addiction around here. You ready to have a sandwich yet? Oh, you gotta go bowling tonight. You can't be all tuned up for that. You're one of those guys, just walk away, leaves the drawer open? I'd rather have you leave the door open than slam it like Don Turn likes to do. Another pet peeve, don't slam my farkin' toolbox drawers. Don't slam toolbox drawers and don't slam Impala Station Wagon doors. All right, she's done drip drying. Also, you probably want to drain your block before you tip it upside down. You can pull these plugs out right here to do that, but of course we didn't. We caught it though, Greta. And you can see I'm not very good at pressure washing the bottom of this fuel pump boss and the oil pan rails. They're a little greasy yet. That's what sucks about cleaning these things up. You could clean till you're blue in the face and you're still gonna miss something. And then we got some there in the timing cover and the bottom of the water pump. We put the pressure washer away, so that's probably not gonna get cleaned up. Good news is, found all my gaskets. I think I got a 1-piece oil pan set, so hopefully that alleviates that. I think we're gonna put a front main in it, even though it doesn't look like it's leaking. Not a front main, front crankshaft seal. Maybe not, these are pressed on. Ooh, I don't like pulling these ones off. I mean, I like pulling them off, but you gotta pound them back on, and it's kind of scary. So maybe we'll leave that, I don't know, think about it. All right, we're gonna let this drain for a little bit, and we'll stick our 6712 NA Timken seal in the front of the transmission before we get too crazy and forget not to put that in there. This guy, it's also the same as a Turbo 350 input. You know how I know? Because I wrote it on there. You about done over there?
Yeah, one more bolt to tighten up.
You do good work.
It's a fun one.
And we should put some new donuts. Those look pretty chewy. Okay, pop that torque converter off. Use the claw here.
Nothing can stop the claw!
Get that seal out of there. Now that we got our conversion of torque out of the way, get our old hook bar in there. And you try not to screw anything up. There we go. Now we just gotta pop a new one in. You always make sure that they're the same size before you put it in. You don't want to pound it in to find out that inside diameter is different. Usually you'll find out right away if the outside diameter is different. Don't ask me how I know. And you probably want a big tube to knock this in, but we don't have one. And they suck. They always fight you. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. So when you're putting the torque converter in, it's got these two notches here. That's what drives the pump. So you gotta make sure those line up. And you gotta make sure it's in all the way. So you gotta turn it while you're pushing on it until it goes all the way in. There you go, feel that second click. So you don't want it sitting flush with these bolts because the flex plate sits behind the bell housing. So make sure you put that in there. Reman 621 of 01. So it's been almost 22 years since that tranny's been rebuilt. 15,000 miles. 21 years. 21. Well, we got Farmstead sent down the road. Duff's out there patrolling, keeping an eye on walkers now that spring is here. Yeah, just camp out right in the middle of the road, you goof. Got this thing washed off, dried off. We got Farmstead sent off. He had an oil leak, so we pressure washed his engine bay, and then we pressure washed these off. And like I said, if you want to see how to detail an engine, go check out Uncle Tony. He thinks he knows he's got it figured out, but apparently you're supposed to run like a bottle torch over it, and that gets all the condensation out of the block. And he's got a pretty good video on it. Looks like it actually works, and maybe that's why this one didn't hold up. But we're not doing that. We're just gonna clean her up, stick her back together. Because I like a clean engine better than I like an attempt, a terrible attempt at a detailed engine. So as long as it's clean, I'm happy. I don't care about paint. You guys all know that. Even Duff knows that. So we're gonna pull this pan off, and we're gonna do rear main seal. I think I talked myself into doing front crank seal while we're at it. Why not? Take a look at everything. Slam the bottom end back together, and then we'll tip it over. I think we'll probably just do valve cover gaskets because they look like they were weeping a bit. And then we'll probably do some spark plugs, and that's about it. Yeah, pull an oil pan off. Got the pan off. Everything looks freaking spotless in here, like it should. I don't believe 327s ever came with a 4-bolt, but I could be wrong. You can see the pistons look like they're brand new. The bottom side there, you know, there's a bunch of crappy oil and sludge. Pickup screen looks nice and clean. So now we gotta pull the oil pump off, pull that rear main cap off, and then we gotta get that seal out of there. And then once we get that done, then we got to pull the water pump, the harmonic balancer to do the front. These don't have a bolt in them to put the new one on, so I think we just tap it on with a wood block. I'm going to go check some videos on the internet. I wish I had a new harmonic balancer for it, but I don't. So we're just going to throw her back together, ain't we, Duff? Yeah, oil pan looks nice and clean. I do remember we put this car together, put this engine together in whatever, fall of 2002, spring of 2003, and we put it in and it knocked, and I thought, oh my gosh. And here, the oil pan that we had on it had a dent in it, and it was hitting somewhere on the crankshaft. You could probably see if you really looked. But anyway, it's a bad oil pan, so we had to pull the engine all back out, put a different oil pan on it. And I think that's why the oil pan, the paint didn't adhere very well, because I don't think that one got sent off and got dipped. I think we just wire wheeled it or something. And anyway, long story short, a 17-year-old kid, being me, that just stuck a whole bunch of money in a fresh engine that he rebuilt himself, was knocking away the first time we fired it up, and that was a little scary when we put her up on the hoist, because this is that Votech, and we could feel it knocking on the pan. My uncle suggested, yeah, just weld a bolt to it, hook a chain to that bolt, and then turn the steering wheel. Pull the dent out. I thought, yeah, that'd be all right if this was just some random crappy engine, but it was all fresh, so we pulled her apart. Sure enough, pan was touching. I don't know if I had this thing balanced or what, but you can see all the marks on the crankshaft. I don't think we did. I don't know what all those marks are from. But we're gonna get our super scraper out. These things are life-changing. I am a dealer for them, but we don't have any on hand. And it's 6 o'clock, Duff. Bean time. But once I get some on hand, I will let you guys know. Hit me up. As of the middle of March, we don't have any. Hopefully we should have some middle of May, end of May, but they go fast. So email me if you want to get on the list. We got a list going. A few people have paid. A few people are just on the list. Yeah, super scrapers. Cat's pajamas. You think it's just a scraper until you use one? You'll never want to use another scraper again. And yes, I already sent one to Puddin', so stop commenting down below. Okay, let's get that oil pump off there. And maybe while we got that off, we'll put a new, there's a drive that goes up to the bottom of the distributor. There's a little nylon coupling in there. We'll maybe put a new one of those on because I probably got one in the kit, and I probably got a bunch of extras on the shelf because you always put gaskets in and don't ever end up using them. Yeah, everything looks good. No random crap rolling around in there, not a bunch of debris, no metal shavings. So I think we'll just clean up the oil pan, clean up our gaskets, put that stinking rear main in. I did notice there's a chunk kind of out of the flex plate, but it never sounded that bad, so we're just gonna run it. If I had a new one, I'd stick one on there. Okay, let's do this. So it's just that one bolt holding our oil pump in place. And actually this one looks like it's got a steel sleeve right there. So we're just gonna leave that. Yeah, the crank journal looks like new, as it should. As does the bearing. So now this part of the seal is really easy to knock out of there. Oh, that's where I screwed up. This thing's leaked since day one. You're supposed to stagger the alignment on these. So you'll put it in, I don't know, 5 degrees. So this doesn't line up with the bottom of the seal. Gosh. Here again, I'm amazed at all the stuff I've learned in the last almost 20 years since I put this engine together. And we had a guy, he was beyond retirement age. He was in his upper 60s. That was our shop teacher. He should have been telling us this stuff. And maybe he did, and I just didn't listen because I thought I knew more than him. But anywho, that's why this thing is always probably leaked. The hard part is knocking it out of here. So you got to get in here with like a little punch or a screwdriver. We'll try to walk that out of there. Again, the way that this gasket came off and the way everything's come apart, this thing is, like I said, low mileage. It has been sitting for a million years and gone through a billion heat cycles. So should be able to walk that right out there. Keyword, should. There we go. We just got to grab that with the pliers. And we just slide it right out of there. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Now I think we'll spin it over and clean that up a little bit. So maybe our new seal stands a chance. He's got some compression yet. So I'm going to read what this seal package says. It says, the following procedures must be followed to avoid leakage. Remove burrs from the inside diameter of the block and cap seal ledge. Note, just remove the burr. Do not put a chamfer on this edge. Use a fine stone or crocus cloth. I don't know what a crocus cloth is, but it's probably like those shoes, and I despise Crocs, even though Chin really loves them. You ain't rocking unless you're crocking. Install seal halves. A large sealing lip must be positioned towards the front of the engine. Make sure that the parting lines of the seals are offset in insulation to this block. Insulation. What does insulation mean? To the block main cap parting line by 3/8 of an inch. That's what I did wrong when I put it in 20 years ago. This will reduce the chances of oil leakage by ensuring proper lip alignment, preventing shaving of the backside sealing. Something I can't read anymore. Use the enclosed plastic insulation tube to shoehorn. This will prevent damage to the backside. Apply RTV sealer to the outside edges of the cap recesses in the block. Lubricate surface seal. Anyway, it says you're supposed to lube it. So, we're reading instructions. We're actually going to use some lube. We'll probably even break out some torque tools. Oh man, I cut my freaking finger open. We just can't have nice things. So we got some lubricate number 105 motor assembly grease. So we're just going to dabby-do a little in there. You know what? We're going to dab it the whole way around. Can't hurt. Cannot hurt. I don't want to do this again. Not on this engine anyway. We're gonna spin her all the way around. Remember, kids, don't stick it in dry. Always lube your rubber seals or rope seals. This has got to be better than a rope seal, right? So I don't know what this shoehorn does exactly, but here's our sealing lip, and that's got to be towards the front of the engine. So we're just gonna drop this guy on here like so, and then just roll it around. And before we get all the way flush, I'm gonna take this shoehorn out of my mouth. Before we get all the way flush, about 3/8 of an inch, according to the instructions, we're gonna stop. So what's 3/8 of an inch? A little bit less than the thickness of my finger. 3/8 bolt. We're gonna stop right there. And then we're going to clean this crotch out where the main cap goes. And we're going to put some right stuff in the corner there. And we're not going to get the main cap all full of dirt. Or the main bearing. Going to do the same thing here. Pop this seal out, stick a new seal in, offset it a little bit. And then we'll just dab some right stuff in there. And then we'll torque it back together. Stay tuned. So there we go. We got it down about 3/8 of an inch over there, up about 3/8 of an inch over there. And we'll put our right stuff in, slam her back together. You don't need much. I actually put just a little dab on the end of that seal. Can't hurt, right? We drop her on. We should have cleaned that up. Oh, we had it out. Oh. We're going to torque these hogs to 65 pounds of feet. Oil pump bolt is same, 65 to 70 foot-pounds. I did tack the oil pickup tube in place, just like you're supposed to do. So I did that right when I was a kid. Well, we're back from bean time. And now, let's get this front end blown apart. I think it's got a double roller timing chain in it. I'm sure it does. Guess we'll find out. So I'm gonna take these 3 bolts that hold the front pulleys on. These are kind of a rare setup, a dual pulley for a short water pump. And then we'll blow the water pump off. Just 4 bolts, 2 of them are already loose. And then we gotta get the puller out, pull that harmonic balancer, and then we just take the bolts out around the timing cover. And bada bing, bada boom.
Bada bing, bada boom, I'm done.
Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Right, Duff? Yeah, he knows it's easy. You can see all the marks where I beat the dog snot. I mean, where I hit this thing really hard getting it on there without a block of wood. Because apparently I thought that that was the way to go about it. That's right, 17-year-old Mortske things. Ourselves. Oh, we need fine thread. Dang it. 3/8 fine thread, not coarse thread. Alright, got our puller. We got our 3/8 fine thread bolts. 2 of them, lost the third one. Snug these guys up. Snug that guy up. Hopefully it comes right off. Snug this one. I want to make sure it's pulling even. Oh, looks like this one's already got a speedy sleeve on it, so shoot. Wish I had a new one of them. Dang it. I always screw stuff up. Really, I guess. I was thinking we have to pull this cover off because there's a gasket behind that. Those never leak. So we're just gonna put this seal in, call it good. So all these speedy sleeves are is just a really thin piece of sheet metal that you pound over that to basically take those grooves out of there. And this one's kind of grooved up again, unfortunately. I don't think I got a new one on hand. I'll go look. These speedy sleeves aren't on there from the factory. It's just the machine surface of this harmonic balancer, and then as they wear into that, then when you patch it up, you put one of these speedy sleeves on. They're an alright fix. Like I said, this one really wasn't leaking, so we can put it back together and it might be okay. Worst case scenario, we just gotta pull the front pulley setup apart again and pop this off. We don't have to pull the engine out like the rear main at least, but ideally we'd put a new speedy sleeve on there. There's probably a repair sleeve, I think they call them too. I call them speedy sleeves. They're probably called repair sleeves though. So we're gonna use TJ Hooker again here. We're gonna pop that son of a biscuit out of there. Come on now. Work with me. Got it. And we got a Timken 9845 we're gonna whack in there. Where's this thing made at? Taiwan! Warning. Well, I'm sure it causes cancer in California. Probably. You're gonna scan that and it tells you. There's a game of whack-a-mole here. Jab that guy in. Of course, I don't have a speedy sleeve on hand for one of these, but I've got one for the front seal on an NP208 transfer case. It even comes with a handy tool for installing it. I don't know that I've ever seen one of those come with. The ones on these front pulleys, they don't have this lip on there. They got a little bit of a radius, kind of like that, but not a big lip. So that's all they are. You just slide that on there and good as new. But we don't have one for this. I guess we could do some calling around, see if we can find one tomorrow. Finish putting this together, and then we'll just whack that back on there when we get one. Let's get this oil pan rail cleaned up and get the oil pan back on. Super scraper time. I've never done one of these. They say they're the cat's pajamas. Hopefully it fits. This is a Felpro OS 34509T one-piece oil pan gasket. Otherwise, you get 2 rail gaskets and then 2 end gaskets, and they like to leak right here. So these guys resolve that by making them one piece. They're obviously spendier than your regular oil pan gaskets, but if you don't have to deal with leaks, it's worth it. And this one comes with what they're calling snap-ups. Engine saver hardware. So it looks like they're these cute little, they got a flathead on there, and then they got 5/16 bolt head, and you just thread them into the block, and I guess that holds the gasket in place while you install it. I don't really see the need because it lays out pretty well, but yeah, I guess you put that in place and you drop the oil pan over it, then you start your middle ones, and then you pull these out. don't think we're gonna need them though. We're just that good. Right, Duff? Are you punched out for the night? Slacker. This kit even comes with new bolts and washers. It says we gotta put right stuff right there and right there where the timing cover meets the block. Same spot in the back where the rear main cap meets the block. So we're gonna do that. It also says to take your take your oil pan, and you want to tap down around all these bolt holes to straighten those spots out so that's nice and flush. So I'm gonna go do that, and I'm gonna clean this up, and then once this is ready to go, then we'll put the right stuff on there and stick her all back together. So out comes the brake clean, and maybe the wire brush, and some rags, and a hammer, and my good old wooden stool for tapping on. Okay. Change of plans. This was rolling around in the oil pan. And it sure looks like a tooth off of a timing gear. So we're gonna pull that front timing cover off. Still gonna clean this up, but that timing cover might be missing a tooth. Or several. Interesting. There's a few other, you could hear it, small shards in here as well. Curiosity has got me. There's another one. Ruh-roh, Raggy.
Uh-oh.
Well, let's rip into this thing. Maybe that rear main seal leaking was a blessing in disguise. Whoa. What's behind door number 3? A timing chain with some gears missing some teeth. It's gonna be my bet. Let's take all the bolts off there, dum-dum. Oh, we got a broken link on the chain too. Wow. Sketchy sketch. Remember how in the 300 horse 327 from the 62 we talked about how the crank turns twice the speed of the cam, or the cam turns half the speed of the crank? So for every 2 revolutions of the crank, you get 1 revolution of the cam. This is why that sprocket is half the size of that sprocket. And here is our timing chain. This is why you run a double roller, because when one side of the roller breaks, and you got the other side that's holding it. And I'm guessing that tooth that I saw is one of these teeth. Usually they're smaller on the cam gear, but that can't be right. They gotta be the same size. It seems like they're machined differently, a little pointier. So I guess we'll turn it over and see what happens. 6 of 02, that's when this was made. So all this stuff was pretty fresh when I rebuilt this engine. Would that tooth have ever gotten into the engine and damaged it? Probably not. Your screen and your oil pump is probably gonna catch it. But if that chain were to break the rest of the way, that could bind up and probably mash our pistons into some valves. Not be good. So the tooth wasn't gonna cause an issue, but I'm guessing that tooth broke, got in between the chain and the sprocket, busted that chunk of the chain. So what I'm gonna do now is these timing gears have marks, and we're gonna line up that mark with whatever it lines up with up here. Usually there's 3 marks because there's 3 slots, and if you got advanced or retarded or straight up, I'm guessing this one's straight up. So we're gonna turn this over. Oh, that chain was made in Japan by KCM, until that notch lines up with whatever's up there, and then we'll take it apart. Then we know it's at top dead center of number 1. Got it? Got it. God, what kind of Neanderthal nailed that plug in place? Looks terrible. Let's get this taken apart. What's it gonna line up with? Oh, that 0 right there. There we go. That 0's lined up with that tooth, and that dot's lined up with that tooth. Those teeth are pretty much straight across. So I'm gonna pull these 3 bolts, and we'll slide the gear off of the camshaft, and then we'll slip the chain off. Okie dokie, let me slide that off. A busted tooth. It's on the opposite side of the chain that's broken though. Oh boy. Look at all those chunks of teeth that are missing. Icky. That one's pretty much shillayed too. Wowza. Damage. And unfortunately, I think I caused this. You see how beat up the end of that crank is? And I thought I could see some tap marks on there. I'm guessing when I tap this sprocket on, so instead of getting a chunk of tubing to tap it on there with so it went on straight, I'm guessing I just went around it in a circle with a hammer. Or maybe just tapped it with a punch. But I'm guessing I kind of missed and whiffed and got that tooth and didn't do it any help. You can see this one's kind of chewed up too, like I might have hit it at one time. So we'll take a 3-job puller and we'll pull that off. Fortunately, there's a lot of debris that is not showing up in there, but like I said, it should all end up in the oil pan, and we found a bunch that was in there. I didn't see anything else floating around. It really can't get into the main bearings, or it can't get into the cylinders, can't get into the bearings in your camshaft. It can't really go anywhere. It's just going to settle the bottom of the oil pan. The stuff that's that big, you get some smaller stuff like bearing material, and that can get into places you don't want it. But I think we'll be all right. And I did hear, when we had this thing rolled over and I took the oil pan off, I did hear some metal chunks dropping, like I dropped a bolt somewhere that there shouldn't be any bolts in there. So we'll do a quick once over. We'll probably tip this thing upside down, see if anything rolls out. I think we'll be fine. And I think I caused the damage 20 years ago. And it's probably been running like that for 14,900 of those 15,000 miles. Double roller timing chain. Now I know why you go with those instead of a single roller. So we gotta see if we can find a timing set. I don't know if I got one of those. I know I don't have one of those. We're not putting a used one in, and I'm not tearing an engine apart to steal one out of. So we're probably gonna be waiting on parts unless I can find something locally. Who would have a timing set laying around? I don't know. I think that's where we're gonna end tonight, because I don't know, I can't put that oil pan on. The only thing I can do is tip this up and maybe clean it out a bit. Try to see if we can get some more chunks out of there, clean up some gasket material. That's about it. That being said, I'm gonna drink a beer to the underage Mortske, and guess what it's gonna be? That's right, a sandwich. A lot of people have been telling me, yeah, we got sandwiches. And then they send me pictures of these guys, which are nothing against you guys who like hams heavies. This is a ham and cheese, not because of the size, because of the color. See how it's yellow? That means it's a heavy. She's a full-bodied beer. She's a full-bodied sandwich. So we call these ham and cheese. And these are ham sandwiches. These are no longer available. They don't make them. Stop telling me you can find them, because your local liquor store does not have them. I can guarantee it. Nobody sent me a picture of one. This is a collector's edition. July 19th of 21. Today is the 16th of March. So I mean, these things are like 3 months away from having a birthday. These are 9 months. If you conceived a child the last day these were made, they might be, they're not walking, but they're probably crapping themselves or kicking and screaming. So, rant over about people telling me that they got sandwiches locally. You got ham and cheeses locally. You don't got sandwiches. Like a woman, this thing ages well. Kind of like me. Not, aesthetically pleasing way, but in that I know a lot more stuff than I did 20 years ago. Oh, because I had a sandwich. You're gonna take a drink too? Yeah. Oh, son of a biscuit. I guess, yeah, that rear main seal was a blessing in disguise. Definitely was. So let's see what we can come up with for a timing set and go from there. Shoot. That's why it's nice to live in the big city. You got options. Out here in Podunk, we got no options. We don't even really have a parts store in town. There's a shop that carries some stuff. What? What are you telling me? In a road trip to the big city to go get a timing chain tomorrow? No. We'll lose the shop for sure if we take a half day off to go look for a timing chain. We gotta find one locally. Napa Todd? Yeah, we'll call him up, see what he's got. He's a big race car guy. He's probably got something laying around. Talk to you in a bit, Napa Todd. I don't know if I'll talk to you guys anymore tonight or we'll see you tomorrow with a timing chain. I don't know what else we're gonna do. We're not gonna jack it up and fix mufflers. I'm too depressed to mess with mufflers right now. Okay? I'm just gonna enjoy my sandwich and think about who we're gonna make phone calls to see if they got a timing chain to loan us. Sell us, because we're not giving it back to them. Stuck our professional t-shirt covering on this thing last night, you know, to keep the debris out of there. I scraped the gaskets with the super scraper. You guys don't want to see that though, because they're not available, and it's gasket scraping. You'd be jealous of me doing it. Got our 3-jaw puller, 2-jaw, now it's 3-jaw. It's a power belt. It's super cheap. We're gonna use that to pull that pulley off. Ran down to Napa Todd. Well, actually, it's Napa Adam. That's because Todd was out kissing hands and shaking babies. Gave us this Cloy's 1-position double roller. What else did he give us? Oh, he gave us some Napa fag parts. He gave us this one-handed box opening. Getting pretty good at it. Just, yeah, one-hander there. Got the install tool and everything. That does not look like the right one, but it is. Oh, it's just different. So this has got that little radius lip on it. These go on the other way, apparently. Okay, that's our speedy sleeve. That's what I was looking for. We're gonna spin this off. That's what we're gonna do. So hook that back up there, put a little tension on her. Squirrel pee on there. Get the coil. Keith! Hold on, let me put my 3-jaw puller back together here. All right, the BDBH is gonna make a mess of this thing, I got a feeling. Got it. You see how hard that came off? Yeah, that's probably how hard it went on in 2001 when I was smacking it with a hammer. Not good for business. We got a sweet new ring gear to put on our wall of shame though. Offerings to the gods of stupid mechanical people. We're getting educations though. This one was a cheap one. I think this was only like 35 bucks. The education was cheap. And
it was at this moment that he knew. He f***ed up.
That's not gonna work. Thanks, Napa Todd. Well, I guess that's about all we're gonna do here tonight. Apparently they make multiple diameters for small block Chevys. This is one of them weeks. One of them weeks. I need a drink. Duffalophagus. You show them what we got now? Yeah. Cloy's double roller timing chain, part number 3023X. It's heavy duty performance. And it says it fits 327s, 55 to 91. So there is no different lower timing gear. This box, it looks like it was killed and probably raped by Duff.
You look like the skunk my dog killed and probably raped.
So apparently somebody's been in here and swapped out that gear. Good news is, this new one's right. And when was this one built? June of 20. Sweet. So, is that the same part number? 101BA. 289A. I don't know. I think that's just who built it. We're gonna stick that on though. And we're gonna find a better way to pound it on there as opposed to young Mortske smashing it onto the mall. And I bet we get instructions. Oh, you don't want to go with the retarded camshaft. We're going with the factory mark. So you got a square, a circle, and a triangle. We're going with the circle. We're going straight up because, yeah, anything advanced. What does it advance at, like 4 degrees? Something like that? 2 degrees retarded, 2 degrees advanced. We're just going straight up. Because we don't do go fast things, we just do stock things around here. Worked fine all these years being straight up. We're gonna be straight up. So I'm gonna go see if I can find a chunk of tube. We're gonna smash this on there. See, this side's got a little bevel to it. This side's flat, and that side's also marked. Don't put it on backwards. You can always pull it off, but just don't do that. Alrighty. So, the one with the 0 pointing up, put some Gwinner slider on there. Make life easier. We'll go see what we can find for a whacking shim thinger. Like this guy. Let's wipe some debris off of it first, so we don't get that into our oil galleys and such. We got Lexi here. She's a big brass maul. Seemed like a good idea. Hear how it sounds different? That means she's on all the way. Oh man, look at all that crap that we knocked in there. That's what we didn't want to do. Now we take our new top gear sprocket and line those two dots up. Put that in place. Why is that off? Nothing should have moved. Well, it can't. It can only go that way. That could turn some, I suppose, eh? Did we turn that a bit? Nope. I guess we're gonna move it. Another lined up perfect. I don't know, something must have moved. Oh, I bet there was tension on the... Oh, that couldn't be. I don't know what happened. I was thinking that there would have been tension on the push rods, which put tension on the valves, which is tension on the valve springs, which could have kicked the cam back slightly, but shouldn't matter. It's lined up now. It's gotta work, right? Unless Cloy's gave us some crappy parts. Napa Darren saved the day. It wasn't really Napa Todd's fault though. It doesn't come with new bolts? What the heck? We put our cam bolts back in. I don't know if you're supposed to Loctite these or not. I'm gonna go look that up. I don't think so. I've never Loctited them. And I'm gonna look up the torque specs as well. They're just little 5/16 bolts, so it ain't much. I'm thinking like 35 foot-pounds. 20 foot-pounds. 18 to 20. We're going to 20. We're going on the high end. Do her up right. High performance, high torque values. Somebody's gonna scream that should have put some type of Loctite on them, but we're not. Didn't have Loctite on them before, and it lasted 20 years. Yeah. I gotta clean up the timing cover and then we can stick that back on. So I'm gonna take my Exolite zip tie trimmer. If you don't have one of these, get yourself one. Oh, they're so good for trimming zip ties so they don't cut your arm when you graze them. See if we can't get this speedy sleeve off of this thing. I know it's not what it's meant for, but I just like it so much. Look at that. Boop! Just peel it right off there. I don't know what to do now, but son of a... There's gotta be another spot we can grab. Oh, 6 o'clock whistle, Duff. We better start getting something done or we're gonna lose the shop for sure on this deal. We are so far behind. Can we get a hook in there? A little hooky hook? Oh yeah. Yeah, also, not what hooks are for, but we do what we want around here. Just roll past that next groove. Of course it won't. Got it! We're back to this virgin molested material. So you can see that groove from the original seal. And then you can see when we took this off, it had 2 grooves in it. One where it tore and one right there. So now we're gonna tap a new one on there. And it goes like this, and then you just want to tap it on until those 2 surfaces are about flushish. That's what I do anyway. Right, wrong, or indifferent. There, we got our speedy sleeve flush with that chamfer, because we know that chamfer didn't seal. So we should be good. This one will be easier to get off. This is the last one going on this car, I feel like. Unless I get a new harmonic balancer. Someday. What say you? Should we put it on? We're up a bit. So it should be at top dead center. Sure enough, there's the mark. Just point right at 0. So if we drop our distributor in, we point it at number 1, we should be good. Just get a starter here. And then I'm gonna get a block of wood. So usually there's an adapter that comes with a harmonic balancer puller that you use to thread these on. Well, these crankshafts on these early small blocks are not threaded. So we can't do that. We gotta tap her on.
Just tap it in. Just tap it in. Give it a little tappy. Tap, tap, tap-a-roo.
And how you know how far you go on is kind of black magic. What I like to do is you take and you put your water pump pulley on, and you put this pulley on, and those two need to line up. So we need to go a little bit further. We're getting there. Perfect. So now we can put our lower pulley back on and put Lexi away. Like I said, this is kind of a hard pulley to find. Usually it's a single pulley that drives your water pump and your alternator. This has got the second pulley to run the power steering pump. It wasn't quite as common with the short water pump cars as it was with the later long water pump cars. I think you can buy these new now in chrome and probably regular steel. They were hard to come up with back in the day. Just when you need them. Finally, I think we're ready to put that oil pan gasket on that I'm so excited about. I'm going to take a little bit of our right stuff here and dab her in the corners of the timing cover and the rear main. You don't need much. Apparently with these one-piece gaskets, you gotta have a really clean rail free of oil, so I'm gonna wipe that down just to make sure we don't have any leaks. Because that's the whole reason we're in here, is to fix a god darn leak. Just a little silicone in the pickup tube. Nothing to worry about. It's easy to fish it out of there, do you? Oh yeah. Where the heck did all that come from? Ew. Freaking high temp orange silicone. Alright. Gasket and pan time. If anybody knows what all these numbers and letters stamped on the oil pan rails before, I'm guessing it's for whoever machined the crank areas and the pistons and camshaft. Once they got done machining their part of the block, they stamped it so they know who did it. That's what I would guess. And the oil pan rail was the easiest to get at and check. I don't know. Oh man, I gotta clean up the oil pan yet. Be back in a second. Our oil pan all cleaned up here. I really wish I had a nicer one. This one's kind of whammied up. Like I said, it was bent right in there. That's where it was touching a journal back in the day. So we tapped her out. So I guess if it was good enough to run for 20 years, it'll be good for 20 more. Spin this oil filter off. I just put it on here just to plug the hole so you can get any debris up in there. Because I learned after the last 327 video, you gotta fill the oil filter, otherwise they don't prime very well. One of life's small pleasures is using a speed wrench. And the best spot to use it is an oil pan. If you haven't used a speed wrench, you haven't lived. If you don't own one, You're probably never going to use it, but it's cool to have on the shelf. Looks cool. Display it with pride. This one's probably older than my dad. I probably haven't used it in 15 years. We're going to use it now. Just to get that old nostalgic feel. We might put those new bolts in there. I wonder if they're longer with that big thick gasket. They might be. By golly, they are just a hair longer. So we're going to put these in. That is a thick gasket. And we're only catching a couple of threads on some of them. I thought they were just nice and gave you new bolts to throw on the shelf. Well, they want you to put them in too. Who'd have thunk? Even comes included with the nice little star washers as well. Velcro, they got it figured out. You know how much more efficient we'd be around here if we didn't have to do everything twice? Probably twice as efficient. Wait, if we were doing it right the first time, we wouldn't be here this time. Now we can use the speed wrench. Ah, just kidding, we should probably replace the end ones too. Your worthless information of the day: small block Chevy. Bolts on the end, the 2 on each end, are 5/16 and the rest are 1/4 inch. The more you know. I think we're done down here, Duff. Let's roll her over. This engine's run Haviland its whole life, so we're going with some Haviland 10W30. I think before we forget, we'll fill the engine up, and then we'll prime the oil system. Let's give her a sludge of zinc. Somebody got mad because I didn't mix it up inside the oil jug, so just to appease whoever that is, because it's not going to get mixed up in the engine, I'll mix it up in the jug. Things I do for my commenters. Well, we got our first oil spill with our new engine. The beauty of fin valve covers is all the oil just sits in the fins. You gotta clean it all out. They look so good when they're clean, which is once. I know, that's why I use a funnel. Okay, now we'll get our priming tool. And can we see the rockers through here? We know it was pretty much primed before, so all we gotta do is get oil back into the system. I don't know what I'm talking about. Drop a priming tool in there. We're just gonna go straight to the big dog. Well, you fit. What's your problem? There. Like I was saying, got our priming tool dropped in. Now we're gonna go grab the 1/2-inch drive corded drill just to make our lives easier and save a little bit on our poor little Milwaukee. Alright, we got gobs of oil. These push rods. Like I said, the valve cover gaskets were leaking, so we're going to pull the valve covers off, put new valve cover gaskets in there, and hopefully we'll look at all the rockers, and they'll all have oil, which they should. This thing really didn't have an oiling issue that we knew of. So like I said, these are 882 heads. Looks like C25 of 7. Or is it a G? A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So 7th month, what's that? July? July 25th of 77. Those heads were made, they're 882s. Nothing great. I've had good luck with them. A lot of guys don't like them because they're smog. And then I think the block, C2 of 4. So that's March 2nd of 64. So it is a era correct block. For that car anyhow. I would like to find some smooth valve covers, similar to what I've got, but with no holes. And then an earlier intake that doesn't have that stupid EGR and has the breather tube, which goes right there, which I know you can just drill that out, but I want an old one. You can tell these newer ones, they got the little stamping pad where it said Made in USA. They did that right after September 11th, because that's when I bought this guy. So everything, yeah, looks really good under here. Everything's getting oil. Got everything scraped with the old super scraper. Even used the narrow one, the 5/8 inch wide, to get around the top side there. Cleaned up our mating surface for our manifolds. So now I'm gonna stick some new gaskets in there. Wipe down the valve cover a little bit. I'm gonna stick the top end back together. And we should be able to stab the distributor in. Number 1 top dead center. Put our spark plug wires and different spark plugs in. And our engine mounts, because those go over the top of the valve covers. The other thing is, my preferences changed in hardware. I just had some regular 1/4 inch bolts, you know, just a regular hex head. I don't like those on valve covers. I like Allen bolts. So I keep a bunch of these 1/4 inch Allen bolts. And plus, if somebody wants to steal your valve covers at the bar some night, they gotta have an Allen wrench. Everybody's got a 7/16. Not everybody's got an Allen wrench. You know what I really hate about valve covers? Stamped chrome valve covers, unless they're factory ones like cheesy Edelbrock ones or Summit or whoever you want, Mr. Gasket. I don't like those, but what I really hate is those wing T-nut valve cover hold down things. Oh, those things are so gaudy and ugly, and it's a great way to get your valve covers stolen because nobody needs a tool to even do it. I don't know if people steal valve covers anymore, but I know a guy that had that happen to him. Went and fired up his car and it was smoking real bad. Opened the hood. So Mickey Thompson valve covers are missing. I don't really care for Mickey Thompson valve covers either, so good for him, right, Duff? Okay, stick this thing back together. I'm sure the other side will look just fine too. You're a lot of help over there, pal. You know. Got our valve covers on. My bolts weren't long enough, so I'm gonna have to find some 1/4 inch bolts that are a little bit longer with an Allen head, button head, preferably something that's zinc plated. I got some black ones, but they're just gonna get rusty and look like poo. I don't want that. Where did this oil come from? Oh, it ran down the corner of the valve cover when we took that off. Let's clean that up, you know. No, we don't need it look like we got leaks before we even start. I'm gonna go look for a distributor. Small cap with points and a coil bracket and coil, so that we got that. Well, it's daylight out because my storage shit isn't, it's scary walking to it. And then yeah, I think we're ready to stick some engine mounts. Well, I gotta find some spark plugs or just re-gap these. We'll see how these look. Probably should stick new ones in and put our plug wires on. We could probably put the manifolds on once they're in the car. We gotta get the engine mounts on, obviously. But we're about ready to go back in there. Are you excited? I don't think you've ever ridden in this car. You wanna get her back on the road? Go for a rip? Oh yeah, me too. It ain't gonna be tonight, sorry pal. It's already past supper time, so see how far we can get though. We might get close. I'm gonna go help look for some parts, distributor, coil bracket. Okay, let's do it. Rounded up a distributor from a 58 Chevy that must put some aftermarket distributor in. So I got a new set of standard points in there. I got a new old stock Delco condenser, new standard cap and rotor, new wires. Now we're gonna put some R45 TS plugs in here. So these plugs are 1971 to 73, whenever they went to HEI. What? Anyway, 70 and older heads require this larger 13/16 plug with this sealing washer right there. And these just have that tapered seating area in there. So, because these are newer heads and we're going back to points, we need to put points plugs in there, which you could probably just close the gap on these 4018 Champion truck plugs. But we're gonna put new plugs in it since we're at it. So we got some R45 TS, which pretty much, yeah, like I said, these plugs were only used 71, 2, 3, and then I think 4 they went to HEI, or maybe it was 5, probably 75. We're gonna say 75. Somebody's gonna argue with me down below. Anyway, that's the difference. Make sure you're using the right sealing surface. That's your worthless knowledge of the day. Make sure you're using the right style of plugs. Not all point spark plugs are made the same for small block Chevys. You got 70 and older and 71 and newer. So we're gonna put those in there. Spin those out, see how they look. Got our engine mounts on. Like I said, got our spark plug wires routed. What else do we do? We're getting close. Got our timing pretty much set. Stuck a new coil on it. The old coil that was part of this bracket that I dug up, the brass contact inside here was MIA, and I had a new one on the shelf, so what the hell, we'll stick it on there, even though you know me, coils never go bad. So let's swap some spark pluggaroos. Gapped him to 35 thousandths using our cool CT413 Champion spark plug gap tool. You guys bought the only 2 or 3 that eBay had the other Monday when the video came out, so that's cool. Yeah, this thing's pretty freaking awesome. I'm ecstatic about it. I might have some new stuff coming too. I know you guys like cool tools. Obviously, the 2 or 3 people like them that bought them that day. So, if you like cool tools, get yourself some of these gear wrench wobble extension spark plug sockets. They got a magnet inside instead of that stupid, silly rubber boot. Oh, drop around the electrode here. So, the magnet holds them in place. And they come out easier than that silly rubber boot that most of your spark plug socket have. And they got the built-in wobble extension. These things are way good. They come in 5/8, 13/16. I think they make them 3/4, but I rarely work on 3/4 inch spark plugs. All right, rant over. Spark plug swapping time. Got our fuel pump on, engine mounts, starter, exhaust manifolds, new spark plugs in. You can see these old 4018 truck plugs. They ain't too bad. There's a couple of them that are pretty fouled up. So to address that, we're gonna take that little 750 Edley Brock off. I don't know why this thing is so dirty. Choke is just wired open. And we're gonna put this 600 Edelbrock. This is a 1405 manual choke, but I got this Carter, which is pretty much the same thing other than it's got a couple different vent tubes here. We're gonna steal the electric choke off of that because it looks like it just unbolts with those 4 screws. And we just hook it up to this linkage here and take this bracket off. And we can put it back to this carburetor for the choke cable and we can convert it. I don't know where I got this one, but I mean, it looks pretty freaking low hours. We'll throw a new gasket on it and throw that on there because, like I said, I think this is a 1407. Yeah, 1407, 750, way overkill. I don't know how that ended up on there. I think the old 600 was acting up, so I had this around and I knew it was good and thought I was going to make more horsepower. I don't know what I was doing, but it's got to go, judging by them spark plugs. So we're going to put this 600 back on it. But we're going to put that electric choke back on it because it was all set up for it. And it's kind of nice to have. Oh, and then we're going to put this new fuel line kit on there. It's got that fitting so that you can put a pressure gauge on it. But we're just going to put that plug in there that it comes with because we don't need no stinking pressure gauge. This kind of like what this guy's got here. Comes down, sneaks up here. This one's been lobbed off for some reason. Instead of just coming out like I showed you before. I really hate those. These things are, I don't know what they are, 20, 30 bucks. Keep a couple of them on hand just for such occasions because they now bother me. Look at that nice vent job here. They just hose clamped a piece of sock or t-shirt over the top of it. Good stuff. Okay, here we go. Alrighty, I think we just got to put our spacer on there for our sweet finned aluminum air cleaner. This thing's been hot a couple times. I don't remember what would have happened there. Probably from that carburetor. So maybe we'll see if we can find a different one of those. I stuck a different barb on there because it just had one for a airline. I didn't like that. Swapped our electric choke over there. That went pretty good. There is this little plug you got to pull out on that carburetor, so we should probably pound that in on that carburetor. And then you got to change the linkage because it's a little bit longer throw on the manual choke versus the electric choke. Put our fuel line on there. Yeah, We just got to find a gasket now and probably a spacer. Should be good to go. I do have a kit for this carburetor, but I thought, you know, it looks pretty dang clean. So let's huck it on there, see what happens. Probably need to put this vacuum plug up there, and then we'll have to hook up our vacuum advance, and then we'll have to steal this hose for the PCV, I believe. And then we got one more hose for the power brake booster as well. Maybe that's what that one was. I don't remember. Either way, we'll figure it out. Cool beans! Cool beans! Duff, you ready to slam this thing in? I think we're pretty much ready. So, since we got no help, this should go swimmingly. All right, let's do this. We got a slit in there. Engine mounts are kind of in place. The dowel pins between the engine block and the transmission on the bell housing, those are lined up. So now it's the fun part of fishing all the bolts in. Try not to forget anything. I do not have a frickin' gasket for that stupid heat riser on the manifold, so we're gonna have to run without one of those unless I can somehow scrounge one up on a Sunday afternoon. But yeah, now it's just putting stuff together. I'm gonna try to do a little bit of a hard line coming up from the fuel pump. Maybe put a little bit smaller clamps on some of these hose clamps because they're a little bit longer than I care for. And then top it off with fluids and run her down the road. It's just that easy, right? Might have to get some help putting the hood on it. All right, let's start bolting stuff together. Got her all wrapped up under there, don't we, Duff? We even put a new spring and washer and clip to hold that shifter from the 1967 Impala 283 engine that we got laying here waiting for a new home. Exhaust is hooked up. Got some new donuts in there. Show them the old donut, Duff. Yeah, that old donut. No bueno. We even put a new gasket between the heat riser. And also put some nice 3/8 brass nuts on the exhaust studs so that they'll come off good next time. We did break one off. Threads were chewed up. We're trying to unthread it. So we had to drill and tap that out. So we got one new stud on that side. Anywho, yeah, starter's on. Starter wires are hooked up. Yada, yada, yada. Now we're back up top here. So we can hook up the fuel line, put our power steering pump on so we can put our last engine mount bolt in. Oh, the engine mount bolts are, the cross bolts are in. We got that one engine, the actual mount bolt to put in on the back of the power steering pump, radiator, all that good stuff. Carburetor. I do need to pull the distributor out to get at the top two bell housing bolts. There just is not any room. I must have had the HEI distributor out. That's how I got them out, because there's no way to get them from the bottom. If you had some real tiny, little, small baby hands, you could maybe get down in there and give her the old reach around. I did get the one started on this side, but I can't get it tight, so I think I'm gonna turn it over to top dead center again and then pop the cap off, and then at least we'll drop it back in the same spot. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. And then we gotta clean up some wiring. I'm gonna do those bell housing bolts first before I forget about them, because they're gonna suck. Right, Duff? Right. Oh, did we talk about cool tools on this episode? I don't know. I don't use these very often, but these little pinch off pliers sure are handy when you got hoses that aren't stiffer than a wedding, you know what. That side's just pretty stiff. We'll put a new hose on there too, but those are kind of cool tools. I don't use mine very often. Okay, back at her. So like I said, one thing that always has bothered me about this car, and just cars in general, is rubber fuel hoses going from the fuel pump up to the carburetor. I like hard lines. And since this is not a factory application, you're gonna have to have either some really good tubing bending skills, which I do not have, or you're gonna have to get a little bit creative. So I believe this is for a quadrajet. It's like 34 bucks on Jags. And it's already pre-bent, and they do a lot better job of me than bending it. I don't believe it would fit a quadrajet, because it should have come back to, like, don't they come on the inlet right back here somewhere? Anywho, we're gonna cut it off and we'll just have a little short chunk of rubber. So I think I'm gonna cut it here, and we'll see if we can't manipulate it to get it real dang close to up there. Worst case scenario, we'll cut it down to here, and then we'll just have a little bit longer chunk of rubber. But yeah, let's get rid of that big chunk of rubber that we used to have and just go down to a little chunk. So I'm gonna mark it, cut it, and we'll do a little manipulating. See if we can make this work out. There we go. We'll just put a little short chunk of 3/8 rubber hose in there, and we'll be pretty dang good. I think we can even manipulate it down here a little bit tighter towards the cylinder head mating surface. Kind of clean it up a bit, but way more gooder. All I did was take a screwdriver about the same diameter as this, slide her inside of there, and put her in the vise. Pry on it a little bit without trying to kink her too much. And that's why I really don't like this 3/8 fuel line. You know, the 3/16 or 1/4 inch brake line you can manipulate pretty well, but this stuff wants to kink way too easy. And I know they probably make some fancy tools for bending it, but I don't do enough of it to worry about it. Good enough for the girls we go with, right, Duff? Got the coolant filled up, hardly spilled any. I guess when we were transferring in the jugs, we spilled a bit, but it's stinking funnel thinger. These things are good. Starter's wired up, fuel line's plumbed, heater, cooling system, that's all good. Belts are on. Oh, son of a biscuit. We gotta do the power steering belt. We gotta do that. We gotta wire up the alternator, and we gotta wire up the ignition. But we got to do a little bit of wiring, cleaning up on that. We got to do the wiring for the oil pressure sensor. So I want to put some heat shrink on those at least, and I don't know, run some new wires for that. I think we're going to heat shrink this and run some new wires for that. I don't know what we're going to do for the choke. Maybe we'll address that later, because we're running out of time, ain't we, Duff? Yeah, let's get a belt on and do some wiring. All right, got our wiring cleaned up. I don't know what we forgot. There's no puddles underneath that are fresh. Yes, I know there's puddles underneath there, Duff. So let's hook up our battery cable. And we'll give her a tickle hot sauce. See if it lights off. I do know that these Edelbrocks and all carburetors, the accelerator pumps like to dry up when they sit for a long time, so that might be dried up. We'll worry about that. And then also when I drop the distributor in, I feel like I got the distributor off a cog. So, see what happens. Should be close. Close enough where we can get her to pop off. What say you, Duff? He knows it's too late to go for a ride, but let's see if we can get her to go. Give her a little juice. All right, slingshot engaged.
Slingshot engaged.
Yeah! No noises. Hopefully no leaks. Nice crisp throttle. Now I go on the diet. I don't know. She runs though. We could maybe dial in the timing a little bit more. Hopefully it's got gas in it. I should clean this up, make sure we don't have a fuel leak. I'd say she sounds pretty good. How about you, Duff? You ready for your first ride in the wagon? Yeah, burning a little oil off the manifold or exhaust, whatever's going on down there. Don't see any leaks underneath. Sounds nice and quiet. Should play with the timing just a little bit and adjust the idle once you get it warmed up. Still got to run a wire to the choke. I was going to see if I can tap into the fuse panel somewhere and run it out here, as opposed to tying into the ignition circuit or the alternator circuit. I don't know. We'll see what we can come up with. Usually there's some spades in the fuse panel that you can tap into. That would be the best way to go. Because the ignition circuit, I think that's only like 9-10 volts when it's running. Should have 12 when it's cranking. This might not be a bad circuit to tie into, but then you get that wire stringing over there. I don't know. It'd be nicer if we could fish one through the firewall and up and run it along with that temp one, or sneak it along the backside. Anywho, we don't need a choke rate, meow.
Now what is so damn funny?
It is kind of nice to have though, especially because it's a little chilly in the mornings here yet. I think this morning I had to scrape the windshield, so it's definitely below 32 degrees Fahrenheit. But anyway, we got my high school engine that I rebuilt running, so pretty ecstatic about that. I'm gonna get some help to get this hood on the car. We could drive it without the hood, as I've done before, but not sitting on the roof of the car. I gotta get that off there, and that's a big, heavy, awkward hood, and I don't want to scuff up the roof and or the hood. So, I'm gonna have to get some help. We'll get that on there. And then we will go for an RIDE, Duff. How excited are you? So excited. Stain came over. Yep, let's put the stained hood on. You are no help as usual. Check the transmission. She's topped off. Radiator is full of the green goodness. So we're gonna take this thing around the block. Pumped all the tires up. These things like to leak, the old BF goodies. I still need to figure out what year those are from, but I've had them for at least 15 years. So they're probably 25 years old. You ready to go for your first ride in this thing, Duffalopagus? Yeah. Look at how good this thing starts. You just reach in here, bump the key. Now watch, it won't work. Never started that good before. Never ever started that good. I think part of the reason it never started that good is because I was sending like 10 volts to a HEI ignition system. Yeah, you had to like flat foot it, like almost flood it out. This thing's gonna be way good now. Need to adjust the idle and the timing, but what else? We'll do that another time. You ready to go for a ride? Oh yeah. Say that word and your ears perk up. All right, let's get some cameras set up and do this. Well, you ready to do this? First ride. Wagon. Oh man, the thing pops straight off. Idle's too high though. Just my mirror. You don't have a mirror on your side. It was an option. We didn't splurge for it. She idles down a bit. Oh, you're excited. I know. She's a good ride. This is a good car, Duff. Good car. All right. It's a whopping 36 degrees out today in Podunk. Low, long cars. Hills. Oh, didn't get her to drag. I think we gotta get the manifolds planed or put exhaust gaskets back in there because I think we got a leak on your side, Duff. What is that squeak? I'm sure it's not that suspension that's all blown out. This carburetor's super surgy. Is that a word? Surgy? You know what's surgeon? Your tail. You need a haircut. Getting nice out. Have to get you all cleaned up for the ladies. Yeah, this thing just does not sit at a steady RPM. It seems carburetor related. We'll have to maybe put a kit in this one, or we'd steal that carb off that 327 is what we should probably do, because that one seemed to run pretty good. Could definitely do that. Should probably put some petrol in. Tank says full, but it has been known to stick and leave you on the side of the road with an empty tank, even though the gauge says full. But maybe it's just the FU is the part that's showing. Oh man, she pulls to the right when you hit the brakes. You guys know what that is? I'm pretty sure they just need adjusted. It's always kind of done it. Like I said, 17-year-old kid. I was probably 15 or 16 when I put the brakes in. It's always wanted to dart to the right when you jack them real hard. So, should probably address that as well. I would like to just go to disc brakes, put a dual reservoir master, so at least a dual reservoir master. Alright. Let's put a few gallons in. Val had to come up and ask us if I was going to fix this car up. If I had a nickel for every time somebody asked me that over the last 23 years, oh, it's going to look nice when you fix it up. Or are you going to fix it up? No, probably not. Get the vents closed down here. It's a little cold to have those on. So yeah, she was pretty much full. This is probably like $1.60 fuel that's in this thing yet. Goes down the road pretty good. Just floats like it's on air. Who would have thunk? Bouncy going down the road, like I need more air pressure in the bag, so I feel like if I put a drop spindle in there, then I could lay it out lower, and then I can run higher bag pressure, because it's bouncy. And I don't know if that's the shocks. But again, this is like the worst stretch of road for bounciness in the corner of the stage, right, Duff? Yeah, super reliable car. Goes down the road good. I've never had it aligned, even though I did all that bag stuff and the front end's clearly worn out and shot. Probably get rid of that ram assist power steering. I know it all works, but that ram assist power steering is just, someday she's gonna give up the ghost. It's gonna cost us big bucks to fix it, so. Cool, updated with like, what is it, 605 Saginaw box. Later model, I know they make adapters, and I should be able to just use my current power steering pump and pulleys and bracketry and all that, just need to make up some hoses. Yeah. exhaust leak and mufflers that are wasted, that are 20 years old. Gotta do a couple little things. Let me know what you guys think we should put for wheels and tires on. Maybe some chrome reverses, maybe some black steelies with dog dash hubcaps. What do you think, Duff? Dog dishes? Maybe just some 15-inch torque thrusts with black balls. I don't really know. I like the looks of what's on here now with these tires. They're probably fine, but I would really hate to tear up a quarter panel on this car. That would make me sick. Couldn't tell you what we're running for a temperature because it's just got a hot and cold light. Neither of them are on. Oil light is not on. Generator light's not on, so it must be charging. Yeah, this thing just bouncing so much. I don't know if that's the mags doing that, or we need some different shocks. Well, that's the other thing, is I would like to bag it all the way around and then get a compressor and valves so that we can just lay it out when we park it, bump it up, or if you get a load in the back, get a couple of big boys back there like Marshall and Dave, you can bump her up a bit. Gotta put that balance on the back from that joyride that destroyed that. Really irritates me. Would like to put like a custom auto sound stereo in it. Stock looking one, so I gotta patch up the dash. I need that decent trim around the radio, so if you got one of those for a 64 Impala, let me know. This road is so bad. Then finish out the door panels, and I probably should get this seat rebuilt and recovered. Carpet would be alright. Yeah, little stuff. Some squeaks and some rattles that really need addressed. What's your first impression of the wagon, Duff? Good cruiser? Not too bad? Get your nose right up against the windshield, can't you? Yeah, this car has been big. Took it out one spring. I just boosted the battery and took off down the road. I went to go whip a donut, which this car will not whip a donut, so we're not even going to try. Went to whip a donut, thinking it would, and it died. The battery was dead, so I had to call somebody to rescue me. Ran out of gas one other time. Whoop, blew a bag one time. Other than that, this car she's been reliable. She's been good. Go wrong with a small block and a power glide. Definitely gotta work on that suspension and the brakes. Did top it off with some .5, good old purple brake fluid. Maybe when we do the suspension, we'll address that scenario. I don't know, what do you guys think we should do for suspension? Should we go full out with some new tubular control arms, drop spindles, disc brakes, air compressor and all that goodness? Or should we just rebuild what's there and just stick her back together? I'm almost over the whole airbag thing. If I don't get a compressor, really is no point in having it, because it seems like it just makes it ride too squishy. I don't know. I think we got to go all out, put a compressor in here. I reached out to, what is it, Ride Tech now instead of Air Ride Technologies. Of course they didn't respond. So if anybody's got any contacts at Ride Tech, any strings they can pull, hit us up. I'd like to work with you guys, do something on this car, right, Duff? Not looking for any handouts, just want to update this thing. Give us free shipping or something. Put a banner up in the shop, I don't know. Heater used to work super good in this thing. Oh yeah. No mousies come out, nothing. Hopefully we resolve the leak issues, because that's the whole reason we did this. Glad that we found that timing issue and that didn't root our engine. So that could have been not good. That could have been a lot of valves, or a handful of valves, kissing a handful of pistons. Starts way better. Oh man, I should have just left points in it 100 years ago, or wired that HEI up properly. I guarantee that's why it started hard, just because I was only sending 10 volts to that HEI. cool to LS and overdrive this thing. It just works so stinking good the way it is. I hate to, because then what do I enter that power glide at 327? We'll just leave it. You gotta redo the exhaust, put electric fuel pump, then you might as well put cruise control and air, and you gotta change all your gauges out. Leave it be. Can't tell if the surge is coming out of the carburetor or not. Maybe it only does it in town. Oh. It always started terrible when it was warm. Worse when it was warm. I think we made it better, Duff. Turned out to be a pretty nice day there, Duff. Ooh, that's striped kitty. Bad day to be on the road. Try a little gravel? Yeah, why not? It's pretty bad on the gravel county roads. They're better shape than the paved county roads. Maybe open the floor vents and kick some of this dust out, eh? Maybe not. You want to pull the one on your side? Yeah, no thumbs. Got it. Let's get a bigger bullet nose. This is why I don't have nice cars, because then we can't just throw the dog in them and cruise them down county roads and get them all dusty and rock chipped up. Right, Duff? Terrible camera placement, I know. Lower car life. No exhaust still sounds pretty good, huh, Doc? What do you think of this hot rod, Duff? Yeah, I think we'll keep it. Do a little more dinging on it. Speaking of keeping, that 92, I think it's a good pickup. It's got some 20% tint in the rear window and some 50 on the sides. Oh yeah, and it's got a huge vacuum leak we need to address too. Cruise, overdrive, power windows, tilt, fuel injection. Pretty awesome. Well, there you have it. We got my high school car, 1964 Chevrolet Impala Station Wagon, back on the road. Hopefully no leaks. Fixed a couple wiring things, gave her a little bit of a tune-up, got rid of that ugly HEI, got rid of the wrong carburetor. Got plenty more to do. New stuff that we found and stuff that we didn't get time to do because we were out of time. So that's about it. Let me know if you guys want to see more of this car, because clearly we got plenty more to do. And I'd love to do more to this car, because this is one of those cars that's never going to go anywhere, because I've had it for 23 years now. So let me know what you guys want to see us do with this car. We're not going to paint it. We'll maybe fix a little bit of the rust on it and then ding up the interior a little bit, but mainly just mechanical stuff. You know, mufflers, fix the suspension, maybe do up the brakes a little bit more, stuff like that. So thank you very much for watching. It's always good to get stuff like this back on the road. I look forward to driving this car a little bit more, but we got to figure out what we're going to do next. There's plenty of stuff to do. I just don't know what I want to work on. Remember, it doesn't matter how you get it done as long as you're having fun. We have had a lot of fun in this car. I have. Duff hasn't. He's gonna though.